Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about Rocket Money. It's the start of a new year. It's the perfect time to get organized, set your goals, prioritize what matters most. And for me, top priority is getting myself together here. Financial wellness, doing that, which that feels important, just feels like adult stuff that you have to do. And thanks to Rocket Money, my goals feel achievable now. They show me all my subscriptions in one place, help me easily cancel ones I forgot that I've been paying for, which happened to me. Absolutely happened to me. For years, I was paying for something. I was like, what is going on here? Rocket Money found it and saved me lots of money since then, because it's been a while. So they did a great job here. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder today. That's rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder. rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Experience furniture shopping the way it's meant to be at Mathis Home, your ultimate furniture superstore. From sofas to dining sets, from modern to classic styles, they have everything you're searching for. With over 230,000 items to choose from, you're sure to find exactly what you're looking for at a price you'll love. Plus, everything is in stock and ready for fast, free delivery right to your door. So you don't have to wait. And if you're looking to really transform your space, take advantage of our complimentary interior design services. Our expert designers are ready to help with any project, whether big or small. And right now, check out the Lazy Boy BOGO event at Mathis Home, happening now through March 1st, 2025. Buy one Lazy Boy recliner and get another one absolutely free. Don't miss this limited time offer. Only at Mathis Home, your ultimate furniture superstore.
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton bedding from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with airy blankets, cloud-like duvets, and breathable sheets. You'll experience pure comfort on night one and feel your bedding get softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com with code WONDERY15. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Small Town Murder Express.
Yay and choo-choo.
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today on another crazy edition of Small Town Murder Express. Sure. 10 pounds of murder, 2-pound bag. You know how it works. So hope you've been enjoying all the other small town murders over time. We've done some wild ones, especially the New Jersey one that came out this week, too.
It's really
crazy stuff. But this time, we're going to Wisconsin. It'll be a lot of fun. Before we get there, just want to say, shutupandgivememurder.com. Get your tickets to live shows for the rest of the year, especially for the virtual live show for Halloween. And it's available for 2 weeks after that, too. You can purchase it. You can watch it 100 times. Just like a regular live show, except we're wearing costumes because it's Halloween, and you are watching it from wherever the hell you want to. No parking, no anything.
No.
Free booze at your house. So do that.
Enjoy it.
Come join us. Shutupandgivememurder.com. We also have more stuff. If we don't have enough content for you, we do have. I bet we have more. Patreon.com/Crime in Sports, which is our other show you should be listening to, Crime in Sports. Also your stupid opinions. Patreon, if anybody $5 a month or above, you're going to get tons of stuff. First of all, immediately you're going to get the entire back catalog of bonus stuff you haven't heard. Hundreds of episodes there. New ones every other week for $5. You can't beat it. This week, what you're going to get, one Crime in Sports, one Small Town Murder, and you get it all. For Crime in Sports, we're going to talk about hot air balloon disasters, which have nothing to do with sports, but everything to do with that being hilarious and crazy.
Why
So
would you do it?
we'll talk all about that. Neither of us are fans of hot air ballooning, so this will be interesting. Then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about a documentary that has had both of us just twisted for like 13 years now. There's something wrong with Aunt Diane, it's called, and it's this mysterious, crazy story of death and destruction, and we got to tell you all about it because it's so weird. Can't wait for that. Patreon.com/CrimeInSports is where you get all of that, and you get a shout out at the end of the regular show as well. That said, let's do this. I think it's time, everybody. What do you say?
Shit, yeah.
Let's dive in and let's all clear the lungs. Let's do this. Arms to the sky, and let's all shout. Shut up and give me murder. Let's do this, everybody.
Okay.
Let's go on a trip, shall we?
Here we go.
Let's do it. We are going all the way to Wisconsin this week, and it's Tomah, Wisconsin, did we say? Or Thomas?
Tomah?
I think it was Tomah, Wisconsin, right?
Tomah.
We just did the pronunciation of it. We looked it up.
I believe it's Tomah.
And I believe it's Tomah. So Tomah, Wisconsin, Tomas. If it's not, no need to tell us because we'll have moved on by then. So don't worry about it.
Get yourself a spotted cow and have a nice day.
Enjoy your curds. Yeah. So this is in west central Wisconsin. Okay. It's about an hour and a half to Madison, Wisconsin. About 2 hours-ish to Milwaukee. And 2 hours and 45 minutes to Phillips, Wisconsin, which was our last episode, the serial killer tapes, which was, man, that was bonkers. I remember that. Just horrible, awful descriptions as this guy had. So gross stuff. Population of this town, 9,515.
Teeny tiny.
So, yeah, not an itty-bitty, but not a big town by any stretch. Median household income here, $51,661, which is well below the national average of almost $70,000. Right. Median home cost here matches it, though. It's also low. $200,700 is the median home cost here. So a very affordable kind of a joint. And it's kind of rural out here. Let's be realistic.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
If you're an hour and a half from Madison, you're out there. So a little bit of history in this town. It was founded by Robert E. Gillette, or Gillett, whichever one, in 1855. They incorporated as a city in 1883, but there was no charter issued until 1894. So they put like some paperwork together, then sat on it for a decade or so, and then turned it in. It's like, did anybody mail that? And no, I didn't mail it. Shit.
The charter, guys. Jesus
Christ, we got to do that. We're not even fucking town yet. What are we?
Day one.
It's 11 years it's taken us to do this. Lazy bastards. They're just full of cheese. They can't get there. That's how it works. It was named after Thomas Caron, Carron, who was a trader at Green Bay. This is in the 1700s and early 1800s, who had integrated into the Menominee tribe. Okay?
Wow.
Which happened a lot. People would do that.
Really?
Yeah, the Native Americans they're pretty accepting.
It's a welcoming group.
They're pretty fucking accepting, man. Yeah, they would just, if you were cool and could contribute, they would accept people.
You're not trying to shoot anybody around here. Come hang out.
Let's do it. Yeah, that's what I mean. You haven't taken a shot at us. I don't see a musket, so let's do it. Yeah. They pronounced the name Tomah or Tomah, and he became known as Chief Tomah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
they promoted him to most important.
They said, "Fuck it." I don't know if he had the biggest gun or what, but
he must have built a hell of a fire.
Well, a lot of times what they would do is a lot of these guys would say that I should be in like the management because I can go talk to the other white people for us, and I can go talk to the quote great father and tell them how wonderful you people are, and then they won't come and kick you off your land, basically.
Right.
So
it won't bother us.
Most of the time that was pure bullshit, and they were just trying to be in charge of shit, but it happened.
So that they don't have to go hunt and gather and shit.
So this became the site of significant lumber and railroad industries as well. Became a center of agriculture, especially cranberry growing.
Is that right?
We're going to hear
cranberry bogs in Wisconsin.
We're going to hear more about cranberries today than we ever thought we'd know from Small Town Murder. Yes.
Get the fuck out.
Also, milk watering. Do you know what that is? Because you will by the end of the show.
To learn today.
You will by the end of the show. This is the most Wisconsin show ever. It's awesome. Reviews of this town very quickly. Here's 5 stars. Very interesting little town. Very fun. Has a spirit for sure. Just love it. Very strong sense of community for such a small little town.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds nice, I guess. They're having parades and shit.
Okay, yeah. You got to back those claims up, but all right.
Got to do it. 3 stars, born and raised in Tomah, Wisconsin. It's a fairly average small town. Not much to do, but near enough to areas like Wisconsin Dells and La Crosse that it's not too boring.
Yeah,
if you can get to La Crosse, obviously, then you're going to be partying it up there. Clearly, I mean that's like
They are.
It's a hot spot.
Yeah. La Crosse is known as the Bourbon Street of the Midwest.
Yeah, it's known. That's everybody knows about it, man.
Yeah.
La Crosse. Here's 3 stars. I don't understand why this is under a town review on Niche, which
Terrific,
is a website about cities. I work in fast food. Okay. I feel that I should get more respect for the job I do. That's the whole review of the town of Tomah, Wisconsin.
Everybody that works in fast food wishes that same thing, man.
People are a dick to the guy at Wendy's. That's his review. 2 stars. People seem to be stuck in the olden days around Tomah. Olden days. It's both nice yet tiring. Places do not stay open long enough for students and those who work to enjoy. Most businesses in the area, other than fast food, close down around 4 in the evening. That's not evening, by the way.
Nope.
That is afternoon still. We don't hit evening till 5, I believe, in my book.
Yeah. The sky ain't even changed colors yet.
No, unless it's winter, then it's pitch black by 4 in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
but
good point. Yeah.
other than that, holy shit.
That is 4.
4? Yeah, you get out of school. We got to rush to the store before they close. Like, Jesus Christ, it's 4 o'clock. Guys,
pay your rent.
Stay till 5 at least. Banker's hours, for Christ's sake. What are we doing?
Unbelievable.
He said there's also very little to do in the small town, as there is only a movie theater that shows a small selection of films and a Walmart. So like a 2-screen movie theater and a Walmart. There are
playing 4 months ago's movies.
Yeah, I'm sure it is like a $2 theater.
Yeah.
There are a few parks in the area, but no one is ever at them. Tomah is more like a truck stop rather than a town. That makes sense. It's probably more of a stop on the highway here. And finally, we'll do one more because it's just funny. Why is the title of this one. 1 star. I cannot understand why someone would want to live in Tomah. Perhaps if you like to drink too much and owned a tavern and did some favors for people, it would make sense in a convoluted way. Okay. Sure. And then quickly, things to do. We have Tomah's annual Freeze Fest, which is happening whether you fucking want it to or not. I'll tell you that right now.
Right around January?
It's in December, I believe. And you basically you just go and freeze your ass off. And the only cost to the event is $1 for a Freeze Fest button.
$1 and your toes.
That's it. Oh, well, it's up there. They don't care. They're up there in T-shirts and shorts, those people.
It's so fucking cold.
I've been in Minnesota where it was 3 degrees outside. I was looking on my phone, and there was chicks walking by with half shirts, just like, and skirts on, coming from the bar. I was like, what the fuck? I had 3 parkas on.
Good for you people.
And there's also the Squirrel Fest.
Oh.
The North American Squirrel Association.
What?
That's a thing.
Is it just squirrels?
It's just a bunch of squirrels with hats on that hand you things. Squirrel Fest is a free family festival held the first Saturday after the 4th of July in Winnebago Park in Tomah. Great food, live music that we're not going to talk about. A free raffle for kids. I don't know if you win a squirrel or what here.
Yeah.
And there is a citywide scavenger hunt for the golden acorn.
Oh.
So $250 will be awarded to the winner.
If you can find that,
if you can find it.
Golden acorn.
Whew, that's that golden acorn, baby.
I hope a squirrel steals it one year and buries it deep
They actually took it. With clues posted on our Facebook page beginning July 1st, so for a few days after that. And under, by the way, the North American Squirrel Association of Tomah, the fucking logo here, it says, helping the elderly and physically challenged enjoy the outdoors. Do they mean elderly squirrels or people?
And handicapped ones?
Handicapped little squirrel wheelchairs?
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Be good. That said, let's talk about some murder that
Let's
happened
do
here.
it.
Okay,
Jesus.
this is so weird. Let's start out. The whole thing is going to take place in 1986. We're going to talk about. So we're going back quite a bit. The regular show this week was 2016. So we're going to 86.
1986, Tomah, Wisconsin. There's like 3,000 people here.
Yeah, I looked it up. I think there was like 6,000 people at the time or something. It's grown steadily.
Sure.
So let's first talk about Tracy George. That's a man, by the way, Tracy George. Yeah. His name's 21 years. He's 21 years old, and Tracy here works on these farms. Okay, it's like dairy farms. There's cranberry bogs. There's all these different shits. Everyone involved here is going to be like these farm workers. Some of them own, like our families own the farm. Tracy like works at a farm. Okay, now Tracy, by the way, was kind of a hot shit high school kid.
Is that right?
Yeah, really popular.
Huh?
A student and the star of the basketball team.
Hell yeah.
So he was
Tracy.
Well, not really, because he was big man in small pond, and then as soon as you graduate, that pond gets a lot bigger, and you're working on a farm at that point, even though you wanted to be a basketball player and all this shit. Instead, he's a farmer who's not going to college. So not exactly what he had in mind, so you can take whatever you will from that.
Yeah.
Guy he hangs out with name here is Richard Sherricks. So Dick Sherricks here, Scherreiks. Sherricks. Yeah. Our old Dickie Sher here, old Dick Sher. So we got Dick and Tracy.
No shit.
We have Dick Tracy here. That's amazing. I just realized that. Dick and Tracy. He's 26 years old, Dick here. So he's a little bit older. Now, George and Richard worked on a farm owned by Helmut Sherricks.
Helba?
Helmut. Hellmut. Helmut Sheriff. Or Sherricks.
Yeah.
Helmut. Yeah, these are very German people here.
No kidding.
He's 66, the guy who owns it. That, I believe, Helmut is Richard's father. Okay. Now, and he's also the grandfather of a kid named Andy, who's 18 years old, Andy Sherricks, who we'll talk about.
Who the hell is he?
He's the nephew of Richard, Dick's nephew, Andy. We'll talk about him in a minute.
He's a few years younger than him. Okay.
And all three of them, Richard, Tracy, and to a lesser extent, Andy, are all involved in a bunch of crimes in the mid-'80s here.
Is that right?
Crimes that none of these crimes take place on the wire, put it that way. These are the most rural crimes I've ever heard of. You couldn't commit these crimes if you wanted to because they're just not available.
Tractor tire theft?
No, that you could do. Richard and Andy are accused of vandalizing a cranberry marsh and causing $500,000 in damage.
$500,000
for a bog. They fucked the bog up to the point of
pour diesel in it.
It's we'll talk about what they did, but it's a huge bog. It's giant. Okay. These aren't like a little, like a koi pond in the yard. This is a big,
owned by Ocean Spray or some shit.
Yeah, well, owned by these people.
Yeah,
in the area today, probably owned by Ocean Spray.
Right.
But I guess this was in 1985. It was the Gordon Valley Marsh Cranberry Bog in Monroe County, is what they were.
Wow.
What they all vandalized. Now, this is Richard, Andy, and Tracy, all three of them. Okay. And we'll talk about Andy in a second. But Richard was the one who had caused the extensive damage to the bog. It was a neighbor's cranberry bog. This was a neighbor beef that they had. This was the way
their bog.
I'm going to trash your bog, motherfucker. What's up with that?
What did he do?
That's some rural shit there. I guess the neighbor's name was Lester Gordon, had tried 20 years earlier to buy the Sherricks. The Sherricks owed money in back taxes. So he tried to sneak in under them and buy their farm in back taxes. And since then, there's been mad fucking tension between these people. Just crazy.
He's trying to get it mad cheap, I'm sure.
He's trying to steal it from them, basically. Their neighbors steal it out from under them. I mean, in a savvy business move. But if you know these people, Jesus Christ, let them try to get their farm back.
Yeah, that's the rural version of a corporate takeover.
Yeah. But they always say, these rural people always say how we take care of each other out here. Your neighbors are like this and that.
Right.
Steal your neighbor's land just like anybody else. Are you kidding me?
To pay their tax bill.
The fuck out of here.
Lost.
Yeah, don't act better. Plenty of nice people everywhere. Shitty people everywhere. So Richard, what ended up happening is I guess George here, George, the other guy here, Tracy George, had stolen several snowmobiles and a trailer from a different farm. Not from that one, from a different one.
From the Gordons, got it.
From the Warrens firm. I guess it was a company he stole it from. Also,
thousands of dollars worth of shit.
Snowmobiles, a trailer, a bunch of herbicides, so, the weed killers, and motor oil from a shed. Okay? They took all this stuff. This is at the Cranberry Bog.
Yeah.
Now, and guns also, and a video cassette recorder from Andy Sherrick's home. Now, Andy's Richard's nephew.
Right.
Yeah, which is interesting. Richard's brother, Heinz, German much. Heinz is Andy's father. So that's how that works. So they stole shit from Andy and Heinz's house while they were out of the house. They were on vacation, and they burglarized it. So Richard helped Tracy George conceal some of the items. He said some of them he took to Crawford County, where his father lives, and stashed it there. He then said that they stole motor oil and herbicides were found in the home of Rodney George, who's Tracy George's father. So they knew that he did this, okay? Both were involved in the threats and the thefts. And in addition to that, Andy Sherricks, we'll talk about, he's 18 years old. Helmut is his grandfather, and he's whatever. So there you go. Richard's his uncle. So Andy knew about all this and was involved in it enough to when a criminal charge came up from this in June 1985, Andy agrees to testify against his uncle and Tracy to get out of it. Okay? So, because he was like 16 at the time, too, or 15, 17 or something. So, the criminal damage charge of the bog, those are burglary charges. That's a separate thing. But he's also going to tell them about the bog damaging as well. He's going to spill everything.
Wow.
So this happened in June 85, the Gordon Valley Marsh Cranberry Bog, owned by Leo Gordon of Tomah in the town of Byron. In the criminal complaint, Gordon is quoted as saying that the, quote, bulkhead at the upper and lower reservoirs plus 6 inlets were opened, resulting in a loss of water for frost prevention and irrigation, with a potential loss of the whole crop at approximately $125,000.
They dropped the water straight the fuck out of it.
Out of there. So it's not a bog anymore. It's just shit sitting there drying out.
Dry field of cranberries.
Yep. And then it'll frost over too.
Yeah.
And kill them all. So when asked why it was done, Andy said, quote, because we had planned to flood the marsh. And they said, well, what's the motive? And Andy replied that Richard, old Dickie there, wanted to damage the marsh because Mr. Gordon would not sign the papers so he could irrigate the farmland.
Okay.
Apparently there's some water property disputes and water disputes and all that kind of thing. Andy wasn't clear in his testimony what farmland that Richard wanted to irrigate, but that's why. They were mad at him, so they're like, we're going to fuck up his cranberries. Yeah. Which is, I've never thought to do that to somebody. So in a response to a question about damage, he thought that the bog owner would suffer from flooding of a cranberry bog during blossoming season. Andy replied, I'm not sure, but it wouldn't grow right. And he said, and it just wouldn't have as many berries as far as I understood. So it would fuck him over. Andy also admitted his involvement in the thefts as well of the snowmobiles, the trailer, the herbicides, all that shit. He said that, quote, I helped Tracy George steal them, and I told Mr. Ron Pearson about it. Okay, so a condition, they arrest Tracy and Richard, and a condition of their bail, they're let out, is that they have to stay away from Andy. Not allowed to fuck with Andy because he's testifying against them at the trial upcoming. Now, September 8th, 1986 comes along. In October, there's going to be the hearing and the trial where Andy's going to testify. Mm-hmm. So on September 8th, 1986, they decide this is Richard and Tracy, decide they need to intimidate Andy a little bit here.
Yeah. Tell him to knock it off. Shut your mouth.
Well, Tracy George broke into his home, kicked his fucking bedroom door in, literally broke into the house like the Kool-Aid man coming into the house, forced Andy into Andy's own car, took the wheel and drove him to the Helmut Sherrick's farm where they worked and lived. The incident occurred right after Andy agreed to testify against both of them at trials. He said at the time George went in his home, ran after him, kicked the door in, and cornered him in a bedroom. The kid was probably terrified, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
According to transcripts here later, Andy said George forced him into the car, drove him to the farm. There, he said both George and Richard Sherricks suggested that he, quote, might die if he testifies against them.
It could be bad for your health.
They literally said, hunting season's coming up. Accidents happen all the time. Like, literally, they were doing that, like mob shit. You never know. You know what I mean? This guy could fucking fall in a hole. Who knows? He could fall down a manhole. Yeah. So, Andy said he agreed to testify at the hearing for all this shit. Now, they claim that, obviously, he was terrified, and they both threatened him with death if he did not lie and change his story in the proceedings against them. Right. So Andy did change his testimony 4 days later in a hearing involving Richard Sherricks. Oh. He said that Andy Sherricks later told police about the threats to his life, and he was supposed to testify again later on. Right. So that's how that went. So they said that George conceived several ways. I guess Richard Sherricks and Tracy George then sat around going, how do we get Andy not to testify? Yeah. How do we do this? How do we get rid of him from around here or whatever? Yeah. Because, they told him, and now he told the cops we've been threatening him too. So they said they could shoot him and make it look like a hunting accident. Right. That's a thing to do. He said, then we can put him in the manure pit where no one will ever find him. Okay. That'll be perfect. And Andy backs that up by saying, quote, they said they had buried an animal bigger than me, and within a week and a half, there was nothing left in the manure pit.
Oh, he thinks that
because there's so many microbes and shit, it'll eat the fuck out of a body. Okay. Yeah, there'll be bones in there. You'll see a skeleton.
There's going to be a lot left.
Meat probably will get eaten up pretty quick by things, but not the rest of them. So once at the farm, Andy said Richard and George made threats about killing him, saying the hunting season comes up. Accidents do happen. Yeah. Yeah, you know how that goes. So Andy said he agreed to lie. And he said that on the September 12th hearing, 4 days after this, he did lie. He said, we figured out that I was supposed to act like my facts were mixed up, get a couple of facts screwed up so it was looking like I was making up the whole thing. Okay. Make a jackass out of yourself on the stand so they won't believe your testimony. Yeah. So
and a fool is still alive.
And everybody's alive, so who cares? So he said that before the hearing September 12th in the courthouse, George came up to him in the restroom and said, keep lying. We'll pay for your perjury. We'll pay your fines and everything. Just keep lying. You're doing great. Keep up the good work on the lies. You're just lying and lying and lying. Yeah. So October 30th, 1986 is the day that Andy is supposed to go testify against Tracy George at his trial. Okay, this is a big deal. Now, Hines Sherricks, who is Andy's father, Richard's brother, he says that his son Andy had developed a habit of not being home alone in the mornings after his parents and his younger sister went to school. Hines said Andy would drive off in his car at the same time his sister left for school. So that was his habit. Everybody left at the same time because he goes to work. But on that morning, Andy didn't do that. Hines said that his daughter reported that Andy was not dressed at the time she left the house. Now, so Hines was interested in that. And then from there, he leaves the house. They leave. He's there. And then they never see him again. He disappears. He never shows up at the hearing to testify. Okay. Just poof into the ether, basically. Yeah. So Hines is trying to find him at that point, and Hines is like, I don't understand it. He says, I don't understand why he would leave the area. He's got his checking and savings accounts are untouched over a couple days. Yeah. And he also said Andy had 2 paychecks coming that were not picked up. And and he didn't take any of his clothing from the house. He didn't pack a suitcase.
No money, no clothes.
Yeah, you need both of those things. Mm-hmm. In addition, he said Andy's car's still in the driveway of our house with the keys locked inside of it. So he didn't
keys locked inside.
He didn't take money, clothes, or his car, which are the 3 things you need to take off, and you can figure everything else out.
Yeah.
So very weird. His keys are locked in the car in the driveway. Yeah. So he said they asked Hines, how did the keys get in there? And Hines said, I have no fucking idea how the keys are locked in his car. I don't know. We have no idea. So Richard, they talk to, later on, they're going to talk to Richard. Richard has a little bit more of a window on it. Now, Hines said that because Andy was 18, he didn't want to appear to be a domineering parent and give him too many suggestions about how to handle the legal situation he was in.
Sure.
If you're 18 and in this situation, you really need advice, though, you know?
Might need some guidance. Yeah.
I get what he's saying. He's trying to keep out of it. Maybe Andy's one of those kids who's like, don't tell me what to do all the time, or, you know, let me live my own life. Who the fuck knows?
Oh, boy.
But
What
the father said, the father said he was concerned about how Andy planned to make arrangements to get to where he's supposed to testify against George. So Hines said he approved of Andy's plan to meet the Chief Deputy Ronald Pearson in Monroe County at 1:30 p.m. and drive with him to the court appearance. He said, I don't want you driving there alone. So he said, yeah, drive there with the deputy chief or the county chief or whatever the fuck. So, hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely. These people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked. God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, you know, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. But why don't you focus also, you look at like green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well.
Right.
And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
They said that Andy did not show up there, though, either. So he's just gone. He was supposed to testify and didn't. He didn't keep his appointment, so they didn't understand what was going on. So that's October 30th. Halloween comes. They're just looking for Andy. Where the fuck did he go? We can't find Andy. November 1st, November 2nd, no Andy.
Really?
No Andy. November 3rd, no Andy. Where's Andy? So finally on November 6th, 1986, Patricia Sherricks, who is Richard's wife, said that Richard, Hines, and Kathy Sherricks, Andy's parents, came over to the house. They're all related. They're brothers, Hines and Richard. Came over to to her Tomah apartment here. They came over to Richard and Patricia's house to ask if Richard might know where the hell Andy might be.
Right.
Even though he was going to testify against him. So after Andy's parents left, Richard said, I have no idea. I don't know where he could be. I haven't talked to him. I'm not allowed to talk to him legally, so I don't know. Right. After Andy's parents left, Patricia said that Richard broke down crying and threatened to kill himself. That seems strange. I know it's your nephew, but Jesus Christ, calm down. You know what I mean?
He's worried about him, yeah.
I guess so. She said that he then told her that Tracy George killed Andy and put the body in the swamp.
What swamp?
Yeah, Patricia was like, what the fuck? So Patricia told her husband, contact your lawyer and turn yourself in for this, knowing this shit. This is crazy. You can't. Someone's dead.
You'll get out faster. Tell him.
So you would think so. So November 7th, 1986, Richard decides to go. He goes to the police station, and he's overwhelmed with guilt or something, and goes to the police station and says, I got a story to tell. Biggie style.
Yeah.
Fucking, yeah. He said
Knicks are
that,
in town.
That's it, man. Couldn't dick off a player on the New York Knicks. He told his story to the sheriff's department and said, he said that he helped George plan this, too. He said, I helped plan the murder.
Oh.
But he claimed that George did the killing. I didn't do it. He said, because that was the day that Andy was supposed to testify against George. So in the burglary case.
Oh.
So he goes, he did it on the right day. He said he wasn't testifying against me that day. He was testifying against him that day. They're separate trials. So Richard said that he and Tracy George planned to have Tracy George force Andy to write a note saying he was leaving the area. And then Richard said that he was to pick Tracy George up at the Tomah bus depot after Tracy George drove Andy's car there and parked it. So it looked like he got on a bus and took off, even though you have a car, so you don't need a bus. Yeah. Which form of transportation would you rather drive away in? Your own car or a fucking bus? It's not a train.
Well, depends.
A train would be one thing. A bus? Who drives to the bus? That's insane. No one does that. You just keep driving your car if you're in the car already.
You walk to the bus.
You walk to the bus. Yeah, you get a ride to the bus. You hitchhike to the bus. That's how you get to the bus. So Richard said the plan failed when Andy locked his keys in his car on purpose.
Oh.
He's seen this movie before when they kidnapped him in his own. This is the second time they tried to kidnap him with his own car.
Yeah, right.
So he threw the fucking keys in, locked the door, and shut it. It's like, we're stuck now, bitch.
Gotcha.
So that's what it was. So then Andy thought he was getting away with something here. Instead, Tracy George just dragged his ass deep into the woods, into a swamp, a huge swamp area. Okay. Richard Sherrick said he drove to the bus station in Tomah as planned, but didn't see Tracy George. He's like, what the fuck? So he just went back to his family farm, which is the farm that this happened on. Right. He said then he saw George and asked him if he had decided not to go through with it. And he quoted George as saying, I've got him laying out there in a swamp.
I
I already did it. So Dick's
That's
here.
Midwest Ringo right there.
That is, I got him laying out there in a swamp. Yeah.
I already
Okay. Shit. Yeah, I already did. So Richard said, out of all this, he said that George arrived early that morning at the home with the intention of killing Andy. That's why he went over there. George told him what happened. And Richard said that he and George discussed killing Andy to prevent his testimony before, so this makes a lot of sense that he would kill him now. He said that on October 30th, Tracy George was determined to kill Andy and went to his home between 6:30 and 7 a.m. to accomplish this, which you set an alarm. You are very much wanting to do some murder.
My God.
I don't hate anybody that much.
I don't have time for that.
If you see me at 6:30 a.m., you've done something very wrong to me. Very wrong.
Steve Jobs did not put that app in my phone for this.
No. Fuck no. So Richard Sherrick said that Tracy George told him that he went to Andy's home, forced him to go to the swampy area after the kid locked the keys in the car.
Right.
Then Tracy George told him he knocked Andy down, beat him up a little bit, scuffled with him, and Andy then pulled a knife and cut Tracy here. Tracy said. So he said that he then got the knife away from him and then choked him and drowned him in the water at the same time.
Oh.
Choked him out under the water of a swamp. So under swamp water.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. Now, Richard is quoted as saying that he, at that point, he said that he got some plastic bags for Tracy and said, do you need these to dispose of the body? And Tracy George said that no, he got on a tractor and said, I'm going to bury him in the swamp further out. Okay. And he told authorities there later that he said that Richard said that he took Tracy George's muddy clothes and washed them for him because they were full of mud and swamp water. So and he said he didn't want the plastic bags because the body would deteriorate better without them. He wants it to break down and go. He thinks that if you just put it in things, it
Water's
just
like acid.
disappears. Yeah, it disappears. There's going to be bones take a long time to break down. Like even in acid, they take a long time to break down. They're not easy. When you burn them at 4,000 degrees, there's still big chunks of them left. Like
they're made of calcium. Even when they cremate somebody, they put the what's left
through a masher,
through a machine.
Yeah, to make it dust.
To
Otherwise,
make it sand.
You're getting half a jawbone of your grandpa. Nobody wants that.
You don't want the mandible of your grandfather.
No, Jesus, nobody wants grandpa's mandible. So Richard then says that George decided against using the bag so the body would rot faster. Richard says that he told Tracy George, "We made a mistake. We should have done nothing to him." And George replied, quote, "It's too late now.
We done something to him.
We done did it. He's already laying up in the swamp." So then Richard went in on November 7th and surrendered, and he said he'll plead guilty to whatever they want. He's very, very malleable here. In the agreement between the state and Richard here, Richard will plead guilty to being a party to second-degree murder, a party to it in the death of Andy, and plead guilty to being a party to intimidation of a witness, which is about the burglary and the bog shit. He faces a possible sentence of 27 and a half years in prison for this. Now, why?
Yeah.
Why did he turn him? Well, number one, why'd you do it? But then you've done all this. Why'd you just turn yourself in, too? What's the deal?
You fold fast, man.
Wow, yeah, he's faster than fucking wow. So when asked why his client had decided to cooperate, his lawyer said, quote, "I think he did some soul searching."
Yeah. Big Kenny Rogers fan. Got to know when to fold them, man.
Got to know when to fold them, and he does. Now, but that might be true because he might have said they're going to track this back to us eventually, and I'll look better if I'm the guy telling them about it than the guy making excuses about it later. So they end up arresting Tracy as well, obviously, and so both Tracy George and Richard are both being held in county jail on kidnapping and tons of other charges. Yeah. Tracy George ain't saying a fucking word, and really? Richard only knows the body is, quote, up in the swamp. So they can't find him, by the way.
Wow.
It's winter in Wisconsin, and they're trudging through swamps trying to find a corpse.
He didn't give near enough information.
No, it's very difficult to find. Now, I guess Richard has a $300,000 cash bond in cash bonds required for his release, while George is only $210,000, even though he's the guy who is the actual murderer, according to the state. So Tracy says he didn't do anything.
No?
He claims that he didn't even leave the farm till about 1:30 p.m. when he had to go for that hearing that Andy was supposed to be a witness at, and he was surprised Andy didn't show up.
I don't know where a body is. That guy's telling you he knows where a body is.
He said Richard, on the other hand, left a couple of times during the work shift. So they're looking for Andy. December 18th, coming up on Christmas. This was Halloween this happened, and we're coming up on Christmas. Search is still on for the body. They say the Monroe County Sheriff Timothy Donovan says the search is being limited to a swampy area about the size of 2 city blocks, which is a huge area for a swamp to have to search through in the town just north of Tomah. The search for Andy, who's been missing 7 weeks, is concentrated. This is right near his home. This is within tractor range of his home. He was reported missing on the 30th. They've searched a total of about 14 days for him. They said the time spent in the search varies, noting that sometimes searchers are on the scene for 4 hours, other days up to 7 hours. They said that Donovan, this guy, sheriff, said that 4 or 5 of his officers have participated in the search. The most recent effort was a couple days ago when they used metal detectors to search the area.
Yeah.
They said that the search will continue depending on weather. And now Andy's a little guy, and this is why it sounds like, because when we talked about Tracy George dealing with him, it sounded like a father dealing with like an abusive father kicking his son's door in, and he's cowering in a corner. Andy's 5'4", 115 pounds.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, he is a very physically intimidatable person.
That's a 18-year-old kid. Yeah.
Very small person. So that's a lot, man. Now, so there's charges, like we said, of including kidnapping and murder and all this type of shit, although they have not found the body. and they're looking for it. So the Monroe County Sheriff said the search for the body was met with no success on the last one. They said that they had to stop in the last weekend because of wind chills of 35 to 40 degrees below zero.
Oh, dear.
So they had to pack it in for that day before before half the sheriff's department drops dead in a fucking swamp. Yeah. Freezes
Everybody
solid.
loses a nose.
Look like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining, all these guys. So Donovan said, this is the sheriff, that the waist-deep water's starting to freeze over, too. It's a waist-deep swamp, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
It's starting to freeze over to the point where the searchers can walk on much of the icy surface, which is not good if you're trying to find a body. So they said he hopes that a predicted warming spell this coming up weekend will prevent a heavy freeze and allow them to keep searching. They said the type of area that we're in pretty much prohibits the use of boats, although we tried boats at one occasion. It's just you have to trudge through the swamp feeling for shit and using a metal detector.
Oh, God.
Which is horrible. December 31st, 1986, New Year's Eve, they end up, this is fucking amazing, they take a couple of tracking dogs. Okay, this is awesome. A couple of tracking dogs from Minnesota. Lily is one of the dogs' names, and the other one is, I'll find it in a minute, doesn't matter. Okay, they take these dogs, they sent the dogs with Tracy George's Monroe County Jail uniform. And then the dogs lead the police directly to Andy's body.
What?
Right to his body from the jail. Directly. Straight line.
Tracy's smell.
Yep.
Where's he been?
Where's
Over
he
here
been?
with this
right
body.
There. Yep. That's, first of all, amazing smell to do that. These are bloodhounds they bring in from Minnesota. It's a bloodhound named Lily and a gas detector, another dog that detects gas.
Wow.
Like gas leaks and shit like that. They said that searchers found his body under a log in a frozen swamp. That's the other thing. Tracy weighed it down with a fucking log. He put a log over it so it wouldn't float back up. At 12:40 p.m., it was found right off of in that swamp, 4 miles northeast of Tomah out there. Now, they said that the spot was more than a half mile into the swamp from the highway. A half mile of swamp this guy went through to do this. They said the land on which his body was found is near the boundary of land owned by Helmut Sherrick. So it's all land that he would have known very well.
Yep, sure.
He said the lack of fences in the area and all the swamps make it very difficult to determine on whose property. They said they don't know which property the body's on. They don't know who owns the swamp.
Right.
No one's really claiming that's my swamp. No one cares about that area.
Shrek, but that's it.
The only person ever, and I don't think he lives here.
No.
So they said a backhoe, which was used in the search for the body, had cut a path nearly 100 yards long. They said chunks of ice 6 to 8 inches thick were scattered everywhere. There was a backhoe smashing ice, basically. And they said they smashed it near there. They said the body was well preserved because it's been in cold, freezing fucking water. So easily identifiable. It just looked like Andy was underwater. Like, hey, there's Andy.
Guy thought the water was going to destroy it. Meanwhile, it made it
preserved
stick around.
It was frozen. He preserved great. It was like, man, look at that. Not bad. He was like a real cold can of beer floating in some recently melted ice. So the beer's super cold still. That's what he's like.
Yeah.
So they said there's going to be an autopsy, obviously, to find out what the fuck happened. They said the 2 bloodhounds were from Bloodhound Investigations, Inc. of Minneapolis. They helped find the body along with a gas detector. They said that the Minneapolis firm had called and volunteered their services. They're just trying to get publicity for themselves. They're a new company. So basically, you pay their travel expenses. They'll bring the dogs in and try to find somebody. And the cops said, we were really running out of things to do. We had used manpower, aircraft, anything we could think of. So they said, fuck it, can't hurt.
Sure.
So they brought in Lily and Harriet are the 2 bloodhounds, and they immediately picked up the scent, went right to the body.
Hauled ass.
They said Lily in particular, following scents from items used both by Andy and George, indicated several areas where they said it appeared promising. And so they said that all these detectives then used ice augers, the kind used by ice fishermen, big auger, big fucking whatever, drill bit.
Ice drill,
and bored about 50 holes in the swamp ice within the 30-yard radius of what appeared to be the most promising spots that the dogs were indicating.
Yeah.
Then they used a gas detector, which has a metal hose. The dog's not a gas detector. They have a piece of I don't know if it was a gas detecting dog.
It's got to get the gas that's coming off a body, right?
That's That's what they were hoping. They said it's 2 or 3 feet long, attached to an upside down funnel. They put it over each hole and turned it on. Yeah. They thought that maybe they could use that to detect gases emitted from a decomposing body in the same way they use it as a ruptured gas line. Mm-hmm. The difference is he's not decomposing.
No, because he's
frozen.
It's too cold.
Yeah. So they said they put bright orange ribbons on the trees near the spots that appeared promising by either the dogs or the gas detection. And they said that they formed a nearby circle and they figured out where the fuck he was, under a log. So, yeah, the backhoe, they said, is wide-tracked and equipped with a plow blade and a scoop. It dug a swath through the swampy area, building its own road as it went, pushing all the dirt and ice aside. Pretty good piece of equipment there. Yeah. They said that Andy's legs were spotted first as the backhoe neared the area where the dog's activity was most pronounced. Mm-hmm. He was underwater approximately 3 feet from where Lily was. The fucking dog nailed it. Went from the jail to 3 feet from his body and stood there.
Through ice.
Through ice. That is amazing. Yeah. They said the dogs had tracked a body in Texas that had been missing for 11 months. So these are good dogs, basically. The medical examiner says what happened to Andy here. He says the autopsy showed Andy died of strangulation and a blow to the skull. Mm. He got jacked up by fucking Tracy, and then he choked his ass. They said he also might have drowned, but that couldn't be proven because of the situation. They said that it was not possible to determine how many blows he received either, so they definitely ruled the death a homicide, obviously. So Richard definitely helped, though. He helped cover this up. He helped a lot. The sheriff, though, said his conscience led him. That's why he came forward. He said maybe it was the fact that he was Andy's uncle and his brother came to him heartbroken. Maybe he, snapped at that. And he had also, because Richard even volunteered and they took him up on it because he knows the land better than the cops do. Sure. They took him out of the county jail several different days to help in the search for the body.
Really?
Yeah, because he said, I know the area at least. So they took him out there and, they didn't find it, though. They said it would have been virtually impossible to find the body without the aid of Richard because he told them it was out in a swamp. They wouldn't have known that at all. They said, we spent 61 days looking.
Golly.
So that's a lot. So Tracy George is going to go to trial, obviously.
Sure.
This is they killed an 18-year-old tiny child kid. Mm-hmm. Because he was going to testify about cranberry fucking destruction. Like, what is what? This is insanity.
They drained a bog. Well, if he says that, he's going to die.
Wow. Yeah, he's going to die. So they informed George that the possible in court, Tracy George is told that the possible maximum sentence he faces on all 10 counts would be life imprisonment plus 62 years in prison and $80,000 in fines.
Okay.
So, yeah, first-degree murder and 8 other charges, as we talked about. Now, the funny thing is they thought this was going to be like a big deal in town, so they put up metal detectors for the court to make sure nobody would, try to kill this guy while he was on the stand. Turns out, 3 people showed up. No one even showed up at all. So they were didn't need the security whatsoever. It was
a little overkill.
2 old ladies that normally come watch court because it's warm in there and somebody who knew the guy in high school or something.
Town's mad at this guy and don't give a fuck about him.
It's fucking ridiculous. So, hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about our stylish friends at Quince. That's right. Let's go elevate your styles, people. Yeah. Get it going, look good out there, and you can do it now without breaking your wallet, without breaking the bank, because at Quince, you can get high-end, versatile pieces at prices we can all actually afford, which is very nice. You want to get good stuff that lasts and it's good, and they have quality stuff that's very affordable, and you can do like we did, upgrading our stuff here, while still being a very reasonable price. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. It's all quality stuff. You're going to love it. Trust us, it looks good. And I've got the leather jacket. It's a very high-quality item. Real nice, soft leather. Yeah. Jimmie's got his linen pants he's rocking.
Yeah. They're terrific.
Come on, be like us, be fashionable, get in there with Quince, indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/smalltownmurder for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/smalltownmurder to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about a very cool place, Thrive Market. Yes, we are both looking to get into the healthy swing this year. The problem is I don't know what's in everything, and I don't know if even I'm qualified to even read the labels to know if that's good or that's bad.
Right.
There's chemicals in things, and there's things floating around. I don't know what I'm doing out there. One of my favorite features, and I know you were talking to me about this, is the Healthy Swap Scanner in the Thrive Market app. Yeah, it's simple. You scan any item, and it'll instantly suggest a cleaner, healthier grocery alternative, which is
it's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Thrive Market also takes the guesswork out of finding these safe, healthy foods. For example, like I'm trying to get my protein intake up for energy. I'm always moving around. I need stuff, and I love that you can filter their site by the high protein options.
Nice.
It's very cool, and you can personalize this portion, and you can put filters on it. And get ready. You should be ready for a junk-free start to 2025. Get ready for it and head to thrivemarket.com/smalltownmurder and get 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/smalltownmurder, thrivemarket.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
The defense opening in the trial, the defense attorney says that Richard, not Tracy, had far more motive to kill Andy.
Okay.
Richard pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, by the way.
Smart.
Or accessory to whatever the fuck it was. So he said that Richard had far more motive to kill Andy than George. He said that he claimed that Richard had not been able to negotiate a plea bargain and turn state's evidence. Had Richard not done this, he would have faced conviction in the cranberry bog damage charge and a possible lawsuit of over $500,000 for damaging the bog damage. He said Richard's wife left him because of his involvement in criminal acts. Meanwhile, the wife was there up until he turned himself in. Mm-hmm. The criminal act she was upset with was murder. That's why she left.
Yeah.
And that he faced losing any chance of inheriting his father's farm or keeping it if he did inherit it. So Tracy, the defense says he will testify that he went nowhere near Andy Sherrick's the day that supposedly he was killed, but he can't account for the whereabouts of Richard, though. So Richard might have been there. George's lawyer made those remarks in his opening statements here. The statement obviously counters what the prosecutor said here, but he'll say George will testify he was working with Richard Sherrick's at Helmut Sherrick's farm. He said George will testify that he kept working that day until it was time for him to leave for his court hearing, but that Richard had left earlier in the day without saying where he was going. Suspicious. Mysterious. George said he will testify. They said that George will testify that he was a little bit surprised that Andy didn't appear to testify against him.
Yeah.
Wow. And they actually have Andy testify from beyond the grave.
Is that right? How?
Yes. This is wild how they do this. It would be one thing just to put his words up like in a transcript. That I think is enough, but they do this a completely different way. This is the part of a transcript with which Andy described how he had falsified testimony in the hearing on September 12th because he had been threatened with death by fucking Richard and Tracy. So they bring in a kid named Dirk Helgamo, who's 17 years old, and he's a very good actor.
Oh.
He's like in the drama department.
The fuck?
He's going to read Andy's testimony and be Andy, which I don't think that's legal anymore. You cannot have like that's
not okay.
That is wild.
Here's Juilliard trained actress so-and-so.
And the whole time they had a big color picture of Andy in his high school graduation, smiling back at them in a big picture while he's reading from this shit.
Kid's crying.
Oh man, about how they're going to kill me and all this stuff. Like it's Andy. So in that transcript, Andy said Richard and George hinted at various ways to kill him, including a hunting accident and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Andy's dad, Hines, he testified that his son was afraid of his uncle and George because they continually harassed him.
Right.
This is great. Andy's father, Hines, not afraid of these guys at all. I think
shit.
he's the older brother, obviously. If he's got an 18-year-old son, he must be. And there isn't an older brother alive who's afraid of his little brother, even if his little brother is like Brock Lesnar or something. Brock Lesnar's still like, I'm not going to piss my older brother off. He might smack me around.
Yeah. And if you're a party to your older brother's kid's murder, he's going to be pretty upset.
He's going to be pissed at you. This is way different than when you crashed his fucking dirt bike when you were 13 or some shit.
He's a little madder than that.
Yeah. So he glared over at Tracy George here, Hines, and they wouldn't look up at him. And said that the two did not bother Andy when he was home. He said, when I was there, they never came and bothered him.
Yeah.
He said, quote, then he pointed at them and said, those two yahoos know when I'm gone. Which the yahoos is a great, that's what you call the murderer of your son, a yahoo.
Yahoos.
Well, other time, very Midwest. Those two yahoos over there, yahoos, like just like into some,
trivializing a murderer.
These two you see that crazy giant inflatable Santa Claus he puts in his yard for Christmas? What a yahoo this guy. So
he's fucking wing nuts.
Yeah. He also described how he spent nearly 2 hours on October 30th with the family beagle Snoopy in search of Andy. He was not successful, and
what
nobody was.
What kind of useless piece of shit is that dog?
He wasn't looking in the swamps. Yeah, did you give him a jail uniform? Maybe he would have been better.
You better sell that motherfucker.
Richard testifies to everything I told you before that he said, everything that happened, so I don't need to go over that again. Then they get a guy who's in jail with Tracy, a guy named Timothy King.
Yeah.
He's in jail facing a charge of damage to property, which seems like that'll get dismissed if he does a good job here.
That has to share a cell with him? Yikes.
Yeah, because he fucking took a baseball bat to his girlfriend's hood of her car.
He kicked the screen door in of her house. Yeah. Sitting with a murderer.
Jesus, he was his cellmate.
Oh, my.
He said that several days before Thanksgiving, he and George overheard a conversation in an adjacent cell. King said the conversation, which came through the jail vent. Hell yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they listen through toilets in jail.
Yeah,
they'll flush the toilet a bunch of times to get no water so they could talk to each other. And indicated that police found Andy Sherrick's body. That's how they found out about it. Yeah. King testifies that George, quote, laid on his bed, rolled around, and swore. Like, God damn it, they found him. In response to a question, King repeated a statement that George had made. He said George told him there's no way they would find him. That was hid too good. That was hid too good. That was hid too good. He's laying up in the swamp.
You ain't heard of Lily, obviously.
Yeah, no shit. So Tracy testifies too, and he's got it because they keep saying he's going to. So he does. And he denied Sherrick's claim and court testimony that he and George left the farm before 7 a.m. to murder Andy, then returned, and all of that shit. He claimed that Richard Sherrick's, not he, who was preoccupied with figuring out ways to kill Andy.
Right.
He's like, hey, we both left, and Richard took off, and I don't know where the hell he is. So he did it. He said that Richard left his father's farm shortly before 9 a.m. on the day Andy disappeared, and did not return until about 11 a.m. So he spent about 2 hours in the travel and killing. He said much of Andy's testimony in the preliminary hearing on October 6th on George assisted Richard Sherrick's in hearing on how George assisted Richard Sherrick's in threatening Andy if he testified against them were not true. So none of that was true. All this shit Andy said was a lie, too. And the dead guy's a liar. We're going to throw that in there.
Yeah.
He claimed that that this is fucking crazy. He claimed that Richard Sherricks, had a temper which resulted in animal abuse very often.
Oh.
He said Sherricks used metal pipes and his fists to assault cows.
Really?
Why? Why would you want to? Are you assaulting a
so
cow?
Docile.
They don't give a fuck. Leave them alone. Yeah, they had killed a cow and put it in the manure pile at one point. He also testified that Richard Sherricks enjoyed that Andy's parents worried about the fate of their son, which I don't believe because he turned himself in when they came over there and talked about it. So George testified that Richard Sherricks, and that could have been all for self-preservation. It could have been like nets close and I'm going to be the first to get a deal. George testified that Richard Sherricks blamed Andy and Andy's father, Hines, for a decision by Richard's wife, Patricia, to leave the farm along with the family's 5 children last September, and she had come back. So this is the quote that George attributes to Richard. Quote, "I love the pain they're going through."
Golly.
Makes him sound like a monster, obviously.
Yeah.
George said he spent his very innocent morning of October 30th doing chores and grinding corn, as one does, as we did before this show. Had to get the corn ground. That's how it works.
It's a big Wednesday.
Yeah. He said he did not leave the farm until about 2 p.m. when he went for the preliminary hearing. Now, in the closing arguments, the defense lawyer, Gregory Lundell, claimed that Richard is the real killer. He refuted Richard's testimony, which they said that George did everything and choked him and strangled him and all that. He also challenged Richard Sherricks' testimony that George then confessed to what he had done to Andy. He said Richard Sherricks is a confessed murderer. He's also a confessed liar.
Right.
Yeah. He said that the DA had nothing but Sherricks' word that George had committed the murder. That's all we have. There's no physical evidence. That's everybody's word. He said, quote, "They have no physical evidence."
Yeah. The
prosecution said, "Get the fuck out of here." He said it's ridiculous to place the blame on Richard Sherricks. This is a weird thing because one's 26 and one's 25, and one's 21. There's a big difference between 26 and 21.
True.
And Richard is the older one. But yet the prosecution says, quote, "Who is going to pull who around by the nose?" He said, "Richard's a dipshit and a dummy." He said he'd be lucky to pick cranberries for a fucking living. He said George is an A student in high school and was a big popular basketball star. I think he'd be the one in control.
Sure.
And he's a bigger guy, too. He's a big guy. So he said he's the one who's conjuring up the story to avoid responsibility for his actions. He would say anything to walk out of this courtroom. Not Richard. So the verdict comes in. 9 women, 3 men on the jury here. They were brought in from a different county because of publicity.
Right.
So they did that. So much publicity that 3 people showed up. They started deliberations at 3 p.m. on a Friday and reached their verdict at 9:50. Jesus, they kept them there till 10 o'clock?
Wow.
The verdict was announced at 10:20 p.m. After they reassembled everybody on a Friday night. These people it's Wisconsin. These people are hammered. How many of this courtroom were shit-faced when they came in there? Your Honor, we're ready to proceed.
You order a Bloody Mary there, they give you an 8-ounce beer with it.
Yeah, just as a backer.
Crazy.
You know you'll want that. They don't care. So
you're going to get thirsty after all that sodium.
Yeah, you're going to need this. Trust me. So they are going to find him. This is Tracy George here.
Yeah.
Not guilty of murder.
Is that right?
Not guilty of murder. Yeah, even though it all lined up.
Too good.
They did find him guilty of burglary, intimidation, and extortion for breaking into Andy's home on September 8th and threatening to injure him if he testified. He could be sentenced to a maximum of 20 years in prison.
Oh, my God.
But at one time, he faced 9 charges, including murder. So not bad. He did pretty well for himself.
Not bad.
Not bad for him. I mean, wow. Tracy George's mother and his girlfriend were all there, and they were sobbing and hugging each other. They should have been high-fiving. He got acquitted of murder when he clearly probably did this.
Smacking people on the ass, screaming, "Good game."
This is fucking, the attorney, good job there. Yeah. Fist bumps. So Tracy's going to make a plea bargain for the 4 counts of theft, being a party to perjury in his efforts for September 12th, because he's got all those charges hanging over him, too. Yeah. So for some reason, they make a deal with him. I would think they'd want to hold his shit to the fire and get every year they can, since he got acquitted of murder. It's like OJ, they're going to put him in longer for something else.
I think they're afraid that they can't get it because they couldn't get him on murder.
Maybe, yeah. So in return, maybe he'll get away with everything. In return for the plea, they dropped 4 burglary charges against him, and Vernon County agreed to drop charges in the burglary and theft case there, because he's been stealing shit all over the place.
Yeah.
So they asked if the judge approves. They said if the judge approves the agreement, sentencing on all the charges will be all together. And, for which if he faces trial, if not convicted, involve theft and burglary. Okay, there you go. Now, so he's charged with the party to perjury and all that kind of shit. They urged the prosecutor urged a severe sentence, saying the public needs protection from people like George. Tracy George felt he was too smart to get caught for what he was doing. Tracy speaks. Anything to say for yourself? He goes, I got a little something to say.
All right.
He said, I realize I've made some big mistakes and I have to be punished for them. I know I have made a mess out of my life. Not your life that we're talking about.
You took another. But
fuck.
I mean, he's not in trouble for that. So all right.
No, not at all. He said that he wants a chance to change his ways. So please give me a light sentence. He said, I want to be an aid to society, not a detriment.
Okay.
He won't be, by the way. We'll talk all about it. But his lawyer urged a maximum of 2 or 3 years in prison for him.
Oh, my God.
The judge, on the other hand, here, he says that he didn't think George showed any remorse for his crimes previous to the sentencing. He said the remorse seems to be more directed toward the situation in which he now finds himself. Like, he needs to be remorseful. He said he's a manipulative person. He's sometimes a very arrogant person. He also called George very intelligent, but probably an academic underachiever whose high point in life came when he was a basketball star in high school.
Hilarious.
A judge you're being deemed legally fucking peaked in high school. You legally peaked in high school, sir. You've been adjudicated a high school peaker. He suggested that George may have become bitter because his life seemed to go downhill from that point. He said, I sense a lot of hostility in Mr. George in what I've observed in the courtroom. He also brushed aside a defense attorney comment that George had never smoked, drank, or taken drugs. The judge said that he'd have an excuse for his conduct if he hadn't been on drugs and alcohol. Drunk, I can understand. I've been drunk. An arrogant, sober lunatic, that I've never had before.
Not okay.
He says, you, sir, may fuck off. 32 years in jail he gives him.
Oh, my God.
Not 2, 32.
32 for a non-murderer.
But he will be eligible for parole in 8 years.
Okay. So
all
right. Fine.
Now, Richard gets sentenced for his part in all this, and he is sentenced to, you, sir, may also fuck off, 22 and a half years.
Okay.
He might as well have just gone with the flow. They would have got away with it. If neither of them said anything, they would have they wouldn't have known who to convict. So that's what he testified and got that. Now, very quickly before we end here, there's an article from the La Crosse Tribune. This is November 13th, 1988, and it says, massive milk watering scheme.
Yeah.
Probe centers on same farm linked to 2-year-old murder case.
Sure.
A John Doe investigation into milk watering reportedly has ended, but the Monroe County District Attorney David Shudlick would not comment, and such investigations are kept secret. However, a compliance officer in the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, who said he testified twice in the investigation, told the La Crosse Tribune that in September they had an investigation centered on a collusion between a dairyman and a milk hauler.
Okay.
The case,
oh my God,
they're watering down their milk from a dairy farm.
You've got to be shitting me.
Nope. They said the case could involve hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of watered milk, making it the largest case of its kind in his 30 years with the department.
Unbelievable.
And puts the quote, reputation of Wisconsin's dairy products at risk. They said this in court. How dare you besmirch Wisconsin's dairy rep here? They're not taking that shit.
Is that how they make it 1%?
That's it. The suggestion is widespread abuse is contained in a complaint. here where they say a milk hauler, it accuses a milk hauler, Paul H. Felber of Tomah, with failing to take samples of milk picked up at the Helmut Sherrick's farm.
Wow.
In 83, 84, 85, and through November of 1986. You know, when there was shitloads of cops on the property. Then they stopped. On that date, a field man for Wisconsin Dairies tested milk picked up at the Sherrick's farm. The milk was found to contain 37% added water, well beyond the natural water content.
Golly, 37.
Now, his lawyer, Helmut's lawyer, said Helmut Sherrick's is a 68-year-old dairy farmer. He purchased his farm in 1961 and operated it as a family farm for 27 years. He received numerous awards for producing excellent quality milk. He's proud of maintaining grade A milk status and has never watered down his milk.
Yeah.
The Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, though, said they pulled milk hauler Felber's license, got rid of his license. Hines says he isn't 100% sure, but his recollection is that Andy had told authorities at least something about the milk watering, because he did. He said
37% sure?
How sure are we? Are we 2%, 1%? Are we skim sure? He said Andy knew about it and was questioned about it before he turned up missing. I know one thing, it sticks in my mind. Andy wanted to quit the place 6 months or longer before he turned up missing. I talked him out of it. I wish I hadn't. Maybe alive. He said how the milk was watered was described by the Tribune by a farmer here, saying that this happened. George was accused in Andy Sherrick's, this is Tracy George too, because Tracy George is involved in this as well. Apparently, after the cows had been milked and the milk pumped into a bulk tank, the water used to rinse the milk line was left running into the tank for 20 to 30 minutes each night, adding extra water. They said Rick or Helmut would run the wash cycle. That's what Tracy George said. Yeah. So that's Richard or Helmut. That took anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, depending on who did it and how much of a hurry they were in. He said, I'd come in, hang up the machines used to milk the cows, scrape down the barn and let the cows out, and I'd walk in the milk house, and the discharge pipe would still be in the bulk tank. George said he became curious about the operation. One night he measured the milk before the rinse operation and again right afterward, finding a big difference in volume.
Yeah, about 40%.
About 40, yeah. After that, he said he kept an eye on it. He said watered down milk sometimes weighed 16,000 pounds or more every day, but usually came in between 11,000 and 14,000 pounds. He said figuring an average of 12,500 pounds, 30%, 7% added water would have increased the value of a single pickup by $551.
What?
Every time. That's an extra $8,548 a month, more than $102,000 a year. In 1985, money.
Yeah.
That's some shit. That's a lot of money.
Man.
So, and that's an amazing living in 1986.
Yeah,
You're rich if you make $100,000 a year.
Kidding.
So George said he once asked Helmut if milk watering was how he solved his farm's financial problems. He goes, this is how you solved it? He said, quote, he didn't say yes or no. He just had a sly grin on his face. And two other sources agree. This is Helmut's son, Hines, who's 41, and obviously Andy's father. He said that, there was a lot of problems, financial problems on the farm. A loan from the FHA helped save the farm. Yeah. He said, but Hines, who's in a dispute with his father over ownership of a very small piece of land, said that milk watering began on a small scale 27 years ago when he was a high school freshman.
Been watering it for years.
Years. He said his son, Andy, also knew about it and said, what I knew, he knew. I know how things went. So Andy knew too. So now you can add another part of this fucking conspiracy to get rid. Everybody wanted rid of Andy. He knew too much. Hines said he was asked by. He knew too much. He knew too much about cranberry flooding and milk watering. There's a lot of things to kill over. It sounds like shit someone would want to kill Charlie over in fucking Always Sunny or something. I know about the milk watering and the crab bogging and the cranberry bog shit, man. This is big, Dennis.
The motor oil and the snowmobiles.
Jesus Christ. So they said, are you going to testify, they asked Hines, against your father? And he said, I would, not to discredit him, my dad, but to tell what I knew. It's the law. Yeah. They said, do you know what's going to happen to your father? And he said, I'm sure he's going to lose everything.
Right.
So George's account of milk watering is substantiated to a lesser degree by another source. George had told the story to his probation agent more than a year ago. And George was sentenced for all the thefts and while he's in prison. So Felber, by the way, has been doing that route for 20 years. So he's been doing this a lot. In recent years, they said Helmut's financial difficulties had magically straightened out. He kept his farm. He built a new barn in the early 80s, bought new tractors, and drove a Lincoln Continental.
Because water's cheaper.
Water's cheaper than milk. One of his neighbors said, I always wondered how he got a lot of milk out of his cows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
weird,
a lot of
right?
cows out there. A lot of milk coming out of them.
Strange. A lot of milk. Now, Richard, I think everybody's out of prison by now.
Yeah, they gotta be. Yeah.
They're all, 8 years and whatever.
Yeah.
Richard, I found, had a couple of minor infractions here. A failure to stop at a stop sign in 2015, and then a failure to obey a traffic officer in 2017.
Oh, my God.
Not a big deal there. But then also, I see Richard claimed Chapter 13 bankruptcy in October of 2023.
Uh-oh.
So he's in some trouble. He lives in Green Bay at this point, I believe, there. And Tracy don't know where he is because fuck that guy. So there you go, everybody.
You don't know where he is? Fucking
Don't know where he
right
is.
around the corner, man.
Say,
I'm
watch
scared
out.
to death.
I have no cranberries around here. I'm fine.
checking behind every door.
Let's do it. Yeah, when we leave here, let's fucking do a quick Tracy George sweep.
Quick walk through.
Andy the poor little fuck just knew too much.
It's amazing.
He had way too much knowledge for his tiny body, and it didn't work out.
It's dangerous.
So there you go. There's Tomah,
learning,
Wisconsin.
everybody.
Jesus, don't know anything. If you like the show, tell the world about it. Get on whatever app you're on. Give us 5 stars. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Tickets to all the live shows are live right now. Get them. Tickets, especially virtual live show, October 31st, Halloween night. Available for 2 weeks after that as well. You can watch it as many times as you want, like a regular live show, but right in your living room. We can't wait. Don't you want to see what we're wearing? Do it up. Shutupandgivememurder.com. We have Patreon, also patreon.com/crime and sports. All your bonus material, $5 or above, get you hundreds of bonus episodes, new ones every other week. This week for crime and sports, which you get also hot air balloon disasters we're going to talk about, which are going to be really fun. That's an unforced error. I'm sorry.
You shouldn't have got in there.
You don't need to be in there. Yeah. And then for Small Town Murder, a documentary that's been tripping the two of us out for over 10 years. Yeah. What's wrong? What is it? What's
the matter with Aunt Diane?
What's the matter with Aunt Diane? I think it's called. What's wrong with Aunt Diane? I clicked off of the thing already, so I don't know. But there it is. It's a crazy documentary with a mysterious. It's so weird. You have to talk about it to listen. So it's going to be fun shit. Check that out. Patreon.com/crime and sports, and you get a shout out at the end of the show. Also. Fun shit there. Keep following us. Follow us on social media. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
And keep coming back every week. And until next week, everybody, it's been our pleasure.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
It takes one guy out there to say, who's that Kyle who thinks he can just get on a microphone on a podcast and start publicizing this?
From iHeart Podcasts and Tenderfoot TV comes a new true crime podcast, Crook County.
I got recruited into the mob when I was 17 years old.
Meet Kenny, an enforcer for the legendary Chicago outfit.
And that was my mission, to snuff the life out of this guy.
He lived a secret double life as a firefighter-paramedic for the Chicago Fire Department.
I had a wife and I had 2 children. Nobody knew anything.
People are dying. Is he doing this every night?
Torn between 2 worlds.
I'm covering up murders that these cops are doing.
He was a freaking crazy man.
We don't know who he is, really.
He is my father, and I had no idea about any of this until now. Welcome to Crook County. Available now. Listen for free on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.